Hello, everybody. Welcome back. If you don't know, my name is Cooper, and today we're going to be talking about how to design your rental without making any permanent changes. So, your apartment came with white walls, beige floors, concrete, and pretty much the whole landlord special. But here's the thing, this is not the end of the world. Just because you can't drill holes or paint doesn't mean that your apartment or your home is a lost cause. So let's talk about the basics, right? There are a couple things that I find extremely necessary if you're in a rental space that you can't do a ton with, because these basics tend to go a very long way when it comes to the design and the coziness of your home. The first one is going to be curtains. Curtains are a really great option, especially in rentals, because a lot of the time we'll have windows that are maybe a little bit more plasticky looking or just don't have a ton of character and don't look very built in. So when you add curtains, it can almost make the windows look a little bit more intentional and a little bit less landlordy or manufactured. It doesn't matter if you have a tiny window or floor to ceiling windows, curtains will always make a difference. So I would say that the best type of curtains you could get is track curtains. They just look the best aesthetically. They have a very seamless design, and they're really easy to install. You can actually get a track curtain system at IKEA for super cheap, and curtains there as well that will make a huge difference. In my personal living room, I have the IKEA track system and the Lenda curtains, and I think they look really good. This can also really help if you have a lot of white walls in your space. Adding curtains with maybe a little bit more of a pop of color or a different color from your walls can really help to separate things and make it feel a little bit less linear and a little bit less like white box. Okay, so the next basic thing that I find to be non-negotiable is going to be statement pieces as architecture. So like I said before, if you live in a rental, I'm assuming that's an apartment or a condo, townhouse, house, whatever it is, a lot of the times they can look very manufactured and very boring looking in their own architecture. And so things just look very flat in general. One way to really help mix things up and add some dimension is investing in maybe some statement furniture or really fun art piece to really liven up the space. And I would say go for something bold here. It'll really help make it feel less cookie cutter and a lot more timeless. In my apartment, everything is really bland. I've got beige floors, white walls, the whole package. But as you can see behind me, I got a bright red mid-century couch for my living room. And I think it really helps draw the eye to a certain focal point in the room instead of focusing on maybe the boring architecture that's around it. So this could be a giant lamp, a sculptural chair, a statement couch. It really doesn't matter as long as you have a piece in your home that's really going to draw the eye and create a lot of visual interest. These pieces will really help trick people into thinking your space is a lot more interesting than it might actually be if you don't have architecture to help, support the design. Okay, and then my last non-negotiable thing is going to be an oversized rug. And yes, I know when you hear that, you might be saying, Cooper, that's really expensive. And you know what? You're right. It is really expensive. But honestly, it's 100,000% worth your investment. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's not cheap at all to get a really nice big rug, but I definitely think it is worth the money. This is especially important if you have very unfortunate flooring in your space. For example, if you have that kind of gray landlordy flooring or something that you don't exactly love personally, rugs can really help mask that and create solid ground for your furniture to stand on. Again, in my apartment, I've done this. I have a 10 by 14 foot oversized olive green rug in my living room because my floors are not exactly my favorite. I am really somebody who loves deep wood tones like walnut and dark oak. And so my apartment has luxury vinyl plank, which is kind of like tile adjacent beige floors. That's not exactly my personal cup of tea. I'll tell you if you like it, but I was pretty eager to cover that up as soon as I can. Rugs can also be really helpful in differentiating spaces if you live in a studio apartment or something a little bit smaller, and can kind of help create this illusion of having different rooms. I live in a studio apartment and I have a rug in my living room and my bedroom area, and it definitely helps to kind of separate things off a little bit and create two different vibes. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next section of the video, which is some fun little design hacks that are a little bit sneaky and maybe something you actually haven't heard of before. I really hyped that up, so I apologize, but now I'm going to be expected to do everything perfectly. But okay, so this first one is kind of obvious. You're going to want to opt for plug in everything. I repeat, plug in everything. You're going to want to go out and buy maybe like 10 power strips for your place because This is the key to success. When it comes to lighting, it is extremely important to get it right. It sets the overall mood, it sets the overall tone, and the feel for the space in general. So you really need to make sure that you have a good variety of different kinds of lighting in your home. You want to have at least one sconce in your place, you want to have at least one pendant light, and you need to have at least 4 or 5 lamps. But these can be really, really helpful, and you can actually go onto Etsy and find a ton of really great older sconces and older pendant lights that are plug-in and look super beautiful. You get some of these, again, you go down to the hardware store and you ask for some adhesive ceiling cord mounts that will stick to your ceiling, not cause any damage, and will hold the cord of whatever light fixture you want to install. In my bedroom, I have an oversized paper lantern pendant, and this is exactly what I did. Yes, you are gonna see a cord. I get so many comments on my videos saying, oh my gosh, Cooper, you can't say anything about interior design because you have cords in your background. Well, of course I have cords in my background. I am a human being, and I don't find it very fun to have to go through my apartment and make it look absolutely perfect for you guys every time I film a video, because I'm a real person, and if I'm going to be giving you guys interior design advice, you guys are also real people, and your home is not going to look like a Pinterest board every single day. So, you can deal with the cords. Sorry. It's just like, really guys, like, come on. I have to charge my laptop. Anyways, let's get back to the subject. So you're going to want to opt for plug-in lighting. And like I said, this is really, really great. So then that way you still get that variety of lighting in your space without having to turn on that nasty overhead light. And if you really want to take this to the next level and you really don't mind seeing the cord, you can actually go out and buy cord covers and have a fun little pattern or fun little color design on them. I also know that you can go online and actually buy different colored cords. I actually think this is a really fun thing to do, and I think it's a really cute way to integrate maybe a pop of color that's a little bit unexpected. So the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is the lean and layer principle. So this is something that I made up in my head because I guess I'm just a genius or something. This is totally not something that I made up. It's a very common principle. We don't want to drill into the walls, and sometimes those adhesive hanging things can be kind of difficult when it comes to larger artwork. So the best way to do it is just lean it up against the wall and create a more layered look. I find I really love this in bedrooms. If you have some artwork, it's really great to, lean up in the back of your nightstand. I would say this is also a really great opportunity to create a asymmetric focal point for your home. So maybe doing one really tall piece of artwork leaned up on your nightstand in your bedroom, or a really tiny photo frame leaned up on your desk. It doesn't matter. It's about the small little details like that. And you don't have to, nail into the wall to have artwork in your home. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is going vertical when it comes to plants. I know that a lot of us in our rentals maybe have a little bit of a smaller space. And something that I talk about a lot on my channel is how much plants can make a difference in your home. I always feel like they are extremely necessary in creating something that's cozy. It's kind of like looked at a little bit interesting when it comes to the interior design industry. Like, people will look down on other designers or decorators if they use plant life in their designs, because they say that, oh, a good design shouldn't have to lean on plants for it to look good. And I think that's completely false. Sorry guys. Plants are super beautiful, and they add so much warmth and so much life to your space, and they really help take an interesting space and elevate it to a more cozy level. I think you can have a really amazing and interesting space without plants, but I definitely think plants add a sense of hominess and life to the space that it really needs, because sometimes our furniture just doesn't cut it at the end of the day when it comes to making things feel warm. I also think that not every person can go out and buy a $3,000 couch or a $2,000 couch, and they have to work with what they have, and sometimes adding a plant into that will help make things a little bit more cozy and a little bit less bland or boring. So I definitely think there's a little bit of a double standard when it comes to that principle. So what do I mean by going vertical? We don't have a lot of floor space in our rentals usually. I would say that a really great way to kind of elevate your rental is to go for something really sculptural and tall when it comes to the plants in your space. I always find they look the best, and they really can help, take up some of that white wall space. I always say Facebook Marketplace first when it comes to plants, because You know, you can go down to a really cute plant shop, but you might have to pay like a couple $100s for a really tall plant. And on Facebook Marketplace, somebody just might be trying to get rid of one and be selling it for $30. So some plants that I would recommend for, you know, spaces that you're trying to elevate or something that's maybe a little bit more bland or boring. I know that it's really easy to find money trees around, and those are super beautiful. You can also go for a fiddle leaf fig and actually cut off the lower branches to create a more vertical and sculptural look. You can go for something like a Dracaena or a corn plant that has a more, you know, desert style to it. It's really up to you and what your personal preference is, but I think any one of these would do a really great job at elevating things and making it feel a little bit more cozy. So just because you're renting, it doesn't mean you have to live in design purgatory. You're not a lost cause. There are a ton of different ideas that I was talking about that can really help make a big difference. And you guys, please don't take these with a grain of salt. These can really make a big impact and go a really long way. I know that some of them are a little bit more costly side when it comes to investing in pieces, but these will definitely make your space feel a little bit more like you, have a little bit more personality, you know, without losing your security deposit. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about these ideas in the comments. I would absolutely love to know your opinion. And if you guys have any suggestions too, you know, drop them in the comments. I'd love to take a look at them. I'm always looking for new ideas. That is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video. As usual, you can find me on Instagram at Cooper Osinski Interiors, or you can visit my website, cooperosinski.com, where you can find a ton of information about me. And if you need help with your space, I would absolutely love to sign you as a client, so you can book a free consultation and we can get you started. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, whatever day you're watching this, and I will see you next time. Bye!